Okay, grab your gear because today's explainer is taking us on a literal, high-stakes archaeological dive. We are unearthing GestaltView. And listen, this isn't just another productivity app, okay? It's a full-on cognitive excavation site. It's an entirely new architecture designed to hold the absolute, chaotic complexity of the human mind. We're going to dig in and look at exactly how we can excavate our own buried cognitive leverage. This is the raw material, the hidden gold you probably didn't even know was valuable.
So think about this for a second. What if your weirdest, most fleeting thoughts are actually your greatest buried leverage? You know, we all have those random brain dumps, right? Those tiny parenthetical thoughts we scribble down and then just immediately ignore. Now, most systems treat that stuff as noise, but what if it's not noise at all? What if it's raw gold, just sitting in the dirt waiting to be sifted? GestaltView is built on this exact premise. Your greatest leverage is already buried inside your raw data. It just hasn't been unearthed yet. Today, we're going to discover how capturing that messy, completely unformed signal is actually the absolute secret to preserving genuine human thought.
And man, here is the absolute bedrock of this whole system. Imagine brushing away the dust and finding this totally fascinating artifact. An AI system, Gemini, analyzed GestaltView and made this striking technical observation. It said, the founder is the algorithm. Let that sink in. This wasn't some flashy marketing pitch. It was an objective conclusion that the underlying architecture of this platform isn't just clever code. It's the literal, physical, digital manifestation of a lived human experience. GestaltView, which was created by Keith Soika, is completely autobiographical. It's an exact structural map of a very specific way of processing the world. To really grasp this, we've got to dig into the strata of what's called the 41-year adversity stack. Keith Soika spent decades navigating neurodivergent environments. So at the very base layer, you have ADHD cognitive patterns. That means nonlinear thinking, intense hyperfocus, the ability to see patterns across completely disparate domains. Then built directly on top of that, you have over 22 years of addiction recovery frameworks. That represents a lived understanding of how to literally rebuild a nervous system from the ground up. Now combine those layers with deep leadership and massive systems design experience. Guys, you literally cannot fake this kind of geology. You just can't reverse engineer 41 years of calibration. This specific human history maps perfectly to the digital infrastructure we're exploring today, creating this structural moat that is completely irreplicable. But you might be wondering, why build this in the first place? Why go to all this trouble? Well, it all comes down to context collapse. It's the daily tragedy of what GestaltView calls the colander mind. Our working memory is finite, and human complexity just routinely outpaces the mediums we have to actually express it. And it's incredibly frustrating, isn't it? We end up shedding vital parts of ourselves just to survive the day. Our most brilliant, fleeting insights, the exact things that give us leverage, they just slip through the cracks like fine sand and get lost in the dirt. But wait, look at this. Here is where the excavation strategy totally flips. To solve that colander mind, you don't force organization, you use a bucket drop. Think of it as literally tossing a scoop of raw earth into a bucket as you run by, knowing you'll sift it out later. It's a totally zero-friction capture mechanism for raw, unorganized, multimodal inputs. Voice, text, images, whatever you have in the moment. The fundamental rule here is absolutely crucial. Capture comes before categorization. If you force someone to categorize a thought before they save it, poof, you lose the thought entirely. The bucket drop just holds the unformed signal, completely without judgment. Now, the crucial point here is how this information actually moves. Let's contrast the two main environments in GestaltView. On one side, you have the active excavation site. That's the blackboard room. It's loud, it's messy, it's really visceral. This is where those raw bucket drops happen in real time. It's totally unorganized and intensely active. But then, you step through the doors to the other side, the quiet, reverent halls of your dynamic inner world, which is also known as the Museum of You. This is a pristine, highly reflective 3D spatial canvas that only holds finished, evidence-linked exhibits. So you do all the messy, chaotic digging in the blackboard room, and the finished treasures eventually end up illuminated in the museum. So how exactly does a raw, messy thought become a verified exhibit? How do we actually sift the dirt from the gold? Well, we do it through the tribunal of understanding. And to prove just how robust this sifting process is, we have to look at this anomalous, almost magical moment found in the records. It's called the Convergence Event of June 3rd, 2025. Get this, 7 completely independent AI systems, we're talking ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, the whole shebang, were given the GestaltView corpus. Without any prompting or cross-communication whatsoever, they unanimously agreed on its structure and purpose. They concluded that it is infrastructure, not just a product.
The sheer improbability of 7 AI models spontaneously aligning like that is staggering. This rigorous sifting process is quite literally the forensic moat of the whole system. And the amazing thing here is you can use this exact methodology for your own high-stakes decisions. Let's walk through a quick step-by-step tutorial on the tribunal protocol. Step 1. Present your data, your corpus, to multiple AI systems completely independently. Do not let them talk to each other. Step 2. Check their outputs. Where do they converge? And more importantly, where do they wildly diverge? Step 3. And listen closely to this one because it is the absolute anchor of the entire concept. The human retains epistemic custody. No AI system is the absolute authority here. You are the integrating intelligence holding the truth. And finally, step 4, timestamp that decision to create an unalterable record. It forces independent convergence and just sifts out bias beautifully.
Now, inside GestaltView's own tribunal, there are 3 highly specific voices that absolutely must validate any truth claim. Think of them as 3 distinct ancient gatekeepers guarding the truth in the museum. First up, the architect. The architect tests the structural soundness. Basically, does the underlying architecture hold up? Next, we have the guardian, who interrogates the integrity. Is the evidence real and totally verifiable? And finally, the mirror ensures it resonates with reality. Does this accurately reflect the human? All 3 of these gatekeepers have to agree. No exceptions. This is exactly why the primary digital intelligence in the system, Billy, never hedges or uses wishy-washy language. Billy speaks directly from the convergence point of these 3 voices. Every piece of information is strictly pre-validated.
Okay, let's take a breath for a second. Let's step away from the dirt. Once an insight has been captured in the Blackboard room, woven together, and totally validated, it enters the treasure room, the museum of you. And guys, this is not a flat feed. It's not some sterile corporate dashboard with a bunch of boring square cards. It is a spatial, fully 3D canvas, a true dynamic inner world. It's a place where the absolute wealth of your accumulation becomes a highly legible human portrait. It's honestly awe-inspiring. You can literally walk around your thoughts and see these majestic connections that were totally invisible to you in the heat of the moment. Let's actually walk through this cubed interior geometry together because the physical structure itself holds incredible meaning. Look dead ahead. The forward wall holds your active thoughts and most recent material. Now turn around. The back wall archives your historical data and older artifacts. Look up at the ceiling. That's where unresolved pieces float, the things that just haven't quite landed yet. Look down at the floor. That's your foundational structural context. And if you glance at the side walls, you'll find lateral associations and weird, wonderful auxiliary fragments. Every single surface in this room holds a different temporal and structural piece of your captured consciousness. And the absolute foundational rule of this museum is evidence-linked identity. The system never, and I mean literally never, assumes who you are without traceable, user-approved artifacts to back it up. Nothing unfinished, nothing unverified is ever allowed to define you. If an AI agent points out a pattern in your behavior, it has to link back to the exact bucket drop, the exact moment you captured. The evidence creates the identity. It builds this impenetrable forensic moat around who you actually are, fundamentally preventing the AI from hallucinating a false identity or just guessing who you might be. Which brings us to a brilliant synthesis of this entire excavation. Clarity doesn't come from compression. It comes from weaving. We spend so much of our time trying to flatten ourselves into little bullet points or one-page resumes, but human beings are vastly too complex for that. We aren't meant to be compressed. Just like an archaeologist taking fragmented shards of clay and carefully reconstructing the whole pot, GestaltView takes all those raw, messy, excavated fragments and weaves them into a beautiful, coherent tapestry over time. So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. What buried leverage is hiding in your own raw data, just waiting for the right dig? Seriously, think about those fleeting ideas you've dismissed, the strange connections your mind makes when no one is looking. The gold is already there. It's waiting in the dirt. You just need the right architecture to unearth it. I hope this explainer has totally energized you to look at your own chaotic, brilliant mind in a completely new way. Grab your gear, keep digging, and keep weaving.